So the question is, do you need to be an extrovert to be successful in business? Well, that's what we're going to discuss in today's video. So guys, I actually have my sales guy, Esteban, here. He looks a bit different. He just went on you were on like a shoot or something like that, right?
I was on a hair photo shoot, so forgive me for looking this. I'm not usually this sort of hairstyle like. You know what I mean, I don't usually look like a fashion designer, but I had to today, so apologize for it.
You look like that movie Bruno.
The Bruno guy.
Bruno.
Yeah, shit.
So I thought I'd bring him on. He was actually filming a live training, a live cold call session for the six-figure SMA students. In how many meetings how many cold calls do you do? Like 11?
I did.
10?
Yeah, I didn't do more than 12 phone calls, and we landed two meetings. Yeah. Cool.
So for those of you guys in six-figure SMA, go ahead, log back in, and you'll see that in there either now or very shortly. So you see someone like Esteban, right? You see someone like Esteban, this dashing young man, and so yeah, you see him, and you see someone who's literally like closing meetings, just, you know, very, very good at sales. I'd say, you know, when I look at you and say, for example, you know, we actually met at my free like mastermind event.
Yeah.
You were very extroverted, like kind of like everyone was attracted to your energy. Like you were, like, you know, someone just walks into the room and they're like kind of like hold conversation, apart from me, obviously.
Yeah.
You know, because
he's Iman Gadzhi.
Because I'm Iman Gadzhi. But, you know, like you had people were forming discussions around you and stuff like that. So you look very extroverted. But I know that's not actually the case for, you know, for yourself. Yeah. So you know, going back like 5-6 years, you were quite the introvert, right?
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. I mean, I wasn't just quite the introvert. I was like scared of asking an old lady for the time, introverted. Really, really introverted with just crippling social anxiety. Never really got out there and started talking to people. But yeah, here I am doing sales and living off something that is just 100% based on speaking to people and being confident about it, pretty much.
Mm-hmm. So look, let's go back. You're 16, 17, you know, around that time. And, you know, in those 6 years, like, for example, like sales, do you even enjoy sales? Like,
Yeah.
Were you naturally drawn towards, or you're like, okay, this is how I'm going to get out of being an introvert?
Yeah, I think that's 100% accurate. I hated sales. I hated it. But like that hate was just that introverted side of me saying to myself, like, dude, I'm not good at this, because I wasn't. I was fucking horrible at it. I'm not naturally good at something like that. And I had a lot of resistance at the beginning because of it. So yeah, very, very introverted, and I hated sales. I just had to push through it, really, and then I hated it for quite a while, actually. Like, I don't think I actually started enjoying sales until I started seeing a lot of results on how I could actually adapt to social situations, and I could actually come across as a very confident guy. And it's the same. You probably get it in a lot of other scenarios. Like when you struggle with something throughout your life, once you start getting successful at it, it just becomes like addictive. Because even though you will always struggle with it, and this is normal. Like if you're a skinny guy, you'll always struggle to gain weight, but you'll just have this obsession of just getting bigger and stronger. Because since you didn't have it naturally, it's just something that it's like just a really cool goal for you to attain. So yeah, that's what I did. Follow through, and here I am, pretty much.
So you know, topic of this video, do you think you actually have to be, because you went from introvert to extrovert,
Yeah.
and you went from introvert not having much to extrovert, you know, literally making your living off of socializing, convincing, persuading.
Yeah.
So the question is, like, do you think you have to be an extrovert in order to be successful in business or sales or marketing?
Yeah. No, 100% not. 100% not. Whoever's saying that is just because it's a limiting belief that they just say to themselves just because they don't want to go through the pain of actually evolving. You don't need to be an extrovert to be good at sales. You don't need to be an introverted. I mean, there's some personalities that tend to have a certain strength on sales, but that's just everything. Some personalities are good at one thing. Usually introverts are better at physics or maths or sciences or something like that. But being an introvert and being a salesman or an entrepreneur is something that can also be very valuable because you become very relatable. Mm-hmm. For example, you're probably now relating a lot to me. Maybe before not, because you thought I was this fucking extroverted guy that was just continuously doing weird shit, but now that I show that I'm actually not, that might make you feel more comfortable about me. And at the end of the day, that comfort that I just created by being introverted is something that's gonna help me either do more business in the case of Iman, or just make more sales in my case. So you definitely don't have to be an extrovert to be good at sales or being good at entrepreneurship.
Mm-hmm. And do you like? Are there any good examples of people who still crush it in the business world? Like any that just come to mind real quick.
Yeah.
But that are quite introverted.
Dude, come on. Steve Jobs.
Yeah.
I mean, Steve Jobs talking about introvert. I don't know if you guys have ever seen Steve Jobs. Some of his first public speaking events, the guy, I mean, he was shitting himself. He was such a horrible speaker. You could tell he wasn't good at the phone. I mean, just look at most of the big entrepreneurs. Bill Gates, he doesn't strike me as an extrovert. I know for a fact Elon Musk is an introvert. I think Grant Cardone at some point was also. I know for sure that Grant Cardone hated sales at the beginning as well because he was so bad at it. But you see those examples all the times. Bill Gates, as I said, Steve Jobs. I mean, there's some of the pinnacles out there. And I'm sure once you start going out and meeting some other entrepreneurs, you'll see a lot of them very successful that are also introverted. And a lot of them will also be in sales.
Mm-hmm. So, you talk about like relatability there. So do you think say you're an introvert and that's your, and because at the end of the day, you're always going to have to sell something.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Say you're an introvert, is there any way you would suggest people use it to their advantage?
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Be very genuine. Be very genuine and real on the fact that you are an introvert. Don't try to cover up that introversion with unnecessary extroversion. If you really want to connect with people, be genuine about it. Dude, I'm an introvert. If I don't have great, I mean, you do need, we are a social species. You do need to have some social skills to abide for, but those are just simple. Just buy a book. How to Win Friends and Influence People is a great book to start off. It's a literally book on learning 10 questions that you always ask people, and that creates that connection. And once you're through those 10 questions, you can just be really straight up hey, you know what, I'm really interested on what you're saying. I actually want to hear a lot more of that because I'm not very good at talking. I'm a shy guy, but that doesn't mean that I don't want to talk to you. As a matter of fact, a benefit of being an introverted in social interactions is that us introverts really care about the deep meaning of things. We're not really interested on what you're wearing or how the weather is looking today or any stupid shit like that. We like deep, meaningful meaning. And a good thing for you guys is that people love to talk about themselves. So we as introverts are interested in that. For example, if I ask you about deep shit hey, how's it going with your girlfriend, or are you happy, or stuff that actually means something to me that I'm actually interested about, I only had to ask that one question and he's gonna do all the talking. I'm just there listening. Literally, that's what I'm doing, and it's just such a simple thing to do. Mm-hmm. And it builds really good relationships because by people investing that way into you and you doing what you already like to do, which is hearing about interesting stuff about a person, you already build a great relationship. For example, and this is just a quick tip, what I do when I meet somebody new, because usually when you meet me, I'm very extroverted at the beginning, but as soon as I get very comfortable, I start toning it down and becoming more chill and more grounded because I'm natural. I get in that zone where I'm just a quiet guy. But I ask cool questions. I always do hey, what do you want to do with your life? Mm-hmm. That's something that I love to ask when I meet somebody that's brand new. It's a hard question, but it's dude, what do you want to do with your life? Do you want to be a musician? Do you want to be a fucking professional clown? And that's interesting because you really get to know people like that. And they love talking about that because nobody gives them the time and the attention to actually ask those questions. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I love being an introverted. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah. All right. Two very key points there. First of all, I feel as though most of the time when people are having conversations, they're literally just waiting. Mm-hmm. Everything that gets played, they're just going, okay, how does this relate to me? How does this relate to me? How does this relate to me? And at every single point, every single time someone says something, they're literally just trying to interject. When you just have a conversation with someone and you say something and they're just waiting for their chance to have a rebuttal or
have their opinion.
Have their opinion on your opinion. Yeah. So I think that's very important. Second, I think if you are an introvert, I think it's such a massive advantage because there are two commitments in this world. Mm-hmm. One is money. If there's two things that people don't like to give away, it's time and money. Yeah. When you're broke, you'd rather give away money, or you'd rather give away time than money. But you know, as you get more and more wealthy, right, more and more financial opulent. Like for me at this point, like if someone takes my time, I'm fucking pissed. If someone like overcharges me by like 15 pounds, like I don't even notice. Right. But if someone takes my time, I'm angry. So I think that's a very key point there, because you can actually leverage that. So say, you know, I'm trying to sell him on something, right? The end goal is I'm trying to get an exchange of money. I'm trying to get him to commit his money to me, but subconsciously what he doesn't realize is the fact that if he keeps talking, and I talk about this a lot in, say, six-figure SMA and in my sales style, where, you know, in that first meeting, I'll let them talk as much as possible. Like, I don't care. I don't want to sell them on anything, because the more and more, they don't realize it, but the more and more they talk to me, the more and more the time they're committing. Right. And as a business owner, and most, you know, usually you're selling to business owners. This relates more to, say, B2B.
And they trust you because they're investing more.
Exactly.
They trust you more.
So the more and more he, as a business owner, the more and more time he invests into me, the more and more he speaks about his business, although he doesn't think he's giving anything. First of all, he's giving something away by the fact that, like, I'm collecting so much intel and info about his business. But second, he's committing time to me, right? Which is almost worth as much as money. So I think, you know, say like I'm kind of on the fringe, extrovert and introvert, but I know like sometimes I get really excited and I just want to interject and I want to speak. And I know some people just like, they'll interject like go look at someone like Gary Vaynerchuk, right? Like just every single point. And it doesn't give people enough time to like say, first of all, build rapport. And like you I'm sure you get this sometimes. Like, do your friends ever tell you, they're like, I just feel as though you know me so well. And in your head, you're like, I literally spoke for 1 minute and you spoke for 59 minutes. Like, like the other person has literally just spent so fucking long telling you about themselves that you just need to repeat what they said back to them. And they're like that unlocks the key to everything. So I think as a introvert, that's actually a huge advantage. The fact that you are someone who actually allows people that space to speak. Because as I said, I think as an extrovert, like it kills you inside letting people letting there be that space in that conversation. So I think that's actually a huge advantage in terms of sales.
Yeah, 100%. And again, you just, at the end of the day, you just want people to invest in that, in that interaction. It happens all the time. I speak to people and they actually feel like that we have like a personal connection. They don't really know anything about me, but they've invested so much about themselves because I've asked really interesting questions about them that I genuinely care to know, and they just let loose on it, because it's human nature that for people to be entitled to their own opinion. So they always want to say what they think and what they don't think and whatever. So again, yeah, there's a lot of benefits to it. It's also, you get a lot of social calibration, which is also really, really cool. For example, a lot of people that are very extroverted, they don't sense social cues really well. So for example, you sometimes see people that are way too extroverted and they start becoming rude or making people uncomfortable. And because they're just so extroverted, they cannot put themselves in the shoes of other people. They fuck social situations up because of it. But if you're an introverted and have extroverted skills, you can sense that really quickly, because introverted are more intuitive. That's what it actually means. And intuitives means that you're more in touch with your sort of emotions. You can understand and look inside of yourself and understand what's going on there. So you can sense social cues really good. And that in sales is really helpful, because it helps you understand where the other guy's coming from. And when you put yourself in his position, you know how to contra react. You know what to say. You know where to take the interaction and stuff like that.
Yeah. Is there any last pointers? As I said, I know there's a lot of you guys watching this on the other side that are, you know, introverts, and for example, you're even just afraid to pick up the phone, for example, right? You know, we just did a 1.5-hour cold call session. Actually only ended up calling around like 12 businesses after setting up all the equipment and stuff like that, and landed 2 meetings. And as I said, this is someone who just was a complete introvert. I didn't even know about it until he told me about his past experiences and stuff like that, just a few years ago. So for someone watching this, we've kind of like squashed that belief that you need to be an extrovert to kill in sales and stuff like that. It's actually an advantage in most cases, but nonetheless, you still need to learn sales and sales skills. So, someone who's introverted and they have that as a limiting belief, but they realize they still need to learn sales. What was just to end off this interview, what was the few steps that you took, and what would you recommend for other people?
Well, I will give you this warning. Going through tough social scenarios and going through that growth phase, I think it's probably one of the hardest growth phases to go through, because social interactions is such an important part of human evolution that if you fucked up in the past, there were massive consequences to it. That's why that's why fear of rejection and fear of failure is so powerful. So you definitely have to have a strategy to that approach. You cannot just go beast mode and go on the street and approach 100 people, because your instincts are so strong that your conscious brain cannot go through it. So best things that I can recommend is for you guys is start doing cold calls and literally go out and talk to people. Like, have those sort of conversations, practice those questions, write down 10 questions you're really interested about on people. My personal ones, I like to know what they want to do with their life, what their ambitions are, what they love to do, hobbies they love. Maybe they like to watch, I don't know, feet porn or something. Like, everybody's got their thing, you know, and then sometimes you hear really weird shit, but you're like, hey, okay, this is weird, but hey, I didn't know that. I didn't know there were fetishes like that, you know? It's like, whatever. I really like to ask about their fears. I love to ask about their insecurities and fears, and people will tell you, dude, trust me. If you ask the question, have a genuine interest, people will respond like they will. And yeah, do that. Have those 10 questions. Start approaching people on the street. That's the best ones. I'd say start really small. If you're massively introverted and you get stifled so easily, just go out and ask for the time. And slowly step it up, because I think it's something that that has to complement your life. You cannot just focus on social interaction, because it just depletes your energy so much. So I'd say have really small goals every day to improve that social interaction skill. And slowly start building it. So one day you ask for the time, the next day you ask for 3 people for the time, the next day you ask 5 people for the time, then the next day you ask 1 people and have an actual conversation with them, or 2 questions, and then you build it up that way until eventually it's all about practice and feeling comfortable. Eventually you'll feel comfortable doing it. But definitely that would be my recommendation. Just slowly, progressively keep moving forward.
And look, even if you're extrovert, like for me, as I said, I'm kind of like introvert, extrovert. I think, what he's talking about here, kind of like building things up and warming up, is like, it's so important. I remember when I used to go to, when I was just getting my first like 2 to 3 clients, before I would show up to meetings, I would be on the tube and I'd ask people like, first of all, what's the time? Or I'd ask people like, oh, those are cool shoes. Where do you get those from? Exactly. Just because like I wanted to like, I just wanted to like warm up before the meeting, like socially warm up, because in the same way you go to the gym and you got to warm up before you lift your heaviest set. You got to do the same thing. Like, it's game time, it's showtime. You're about to hop into a fucking meeting with a client or a potential client. You don't just want to go in there cold, right? I think it's what you do the entire day before the meeting that really counts. 100%. Right? Because you ever get in that sort of like zone, that flow where it's just like everything just comes to you naturally. I can just remember vividly times where I was like there's one client specifically that I can remember, like huge multi-million pound tech company. There's no way, they were like my 5th client. There's no way I should have gone them as a client. I still blows my mind to this day that I got them as a client. And the reason was because like I was there at that meeting and everything just flowed, literally I felt like limitless pill. It was because that entire day leading up to it, I realized that, okay, I have this huge meeting that I'm probably going to shit my pants. So I need to frame myself correctly leading up to that meeting. So I think that's, even if you're an extrovert, I think that's a takeaway if you're not already doing that. So yeah. That's it.
Awesome. I think
that's about it. So guys, hope you enjoyed this video. For those of you in 6-figure SMMA, as I said, go ahead and check Teachable. There's now a 45-minute, hour-long, around 45-minute live cold call session with Esteban, as well as I think there's 12 new modules this week, thereabouts. We've got a lot of new content coming out. So hope you enjoyed
something before that. And I mean, if you really want to go deep into this and really get that relatability, dude, I do a live session cold calling on Iman's course. So if you're really interested on that, really, I do recommend getting this guy's course. It's incredible, and you get all that valuable content in there. I'm not just selling this thing. I mean, I'm actually trying to help you guys. If you want to really relate to what I'm doing and what's possible with being an introvert, go check it out. All right.
All right. I appreciate that.
No worry.
So yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for coming by.
No worry, bro.
All right.
Now, I don't really want to waste your time and sell you through the whole service right now. All I want to do is really get a 15-minute appointment so that you can actually get more information of how we can help your business, and hopefully we can take things forward from there. The worst thing that can happen is that you walk off with a free consulting session. How does that sound?
Or do you want to pop in at the gym then?
Yeah, anytime this week, whatever time works for you.
Yeah, sometime in the morning then until like 2 p.m. or something.
Awesome. So what do you say about tomorrow at 1 o'clock?
Yeah, tomorrow's fine.
Tomorrow, 1 o'clock. Awesome. Now, before I let you go, just so I don't waste your time, have you ever done anything related to this?
Yeah.
What was your sort of experience? Did you try Facebook advertising, or was it another thing?
Yeah, it's a Facebook app.
Awesome. And did you have good results, or not? We're not very happy with it.
I mean, it's okay. You have to spend money, so the more you spend, the better results you get.
No, I like that. I like that mentality. It's not very common for people to think that. That's good. Another thing, before I sit down with you, is there anybody else who you like your opinion on with this?
No, not really.
Okay, awesome. Now, yeah, that's about it for sure. Is there any reason whatsoever why you couldn't do 1 o'clock tomorrow?
No, I'm here until like 2, so that's fine.
Awesome, perfect. So I'll note that down, and I'll send you a confirmation email right now, and I'll see you tomorrow.
Okay, see you.
Awesome. Have a good day. Bye-bye. Boom. So as you can see, it's the difference that can make it's one phone call away. That's why people always say one more phone call, stuff like this, as you're probably aware of. So again, hope this really helped you guys. Again, the whole point of this is to make you feel a little bit more relatable to how the actual process goes, how it's not hard with the templates that you already have. Just have a good attitude, keep being enthusiastic. Like this woman, like the only thing I did behind this was just create that confidence in her that I actually know what I'm doing. Okay, and having that good attitude. And yeah, keep practicing. Don't be fearful. Again, it works. So just keep hustling, guys. I hope I brought some value to you today. And yeah, keep crushing it.
Okay, so a quick rundown on something that just happened to me. One of the voicemails I left on the cold calls actually gave me a call back. His name was Hassan. He told me, dude, I just received a phone call from this number. So I did the same thing. I backed it up with a good attitude, a lot of enthusiasm. I went through my pitch, I shortened up my structure, and I actually closed another appointment. So I got one appointment for Wednesday, one appointment for Tuesday, and I did, I think, 10 phone calls. Okay? So you can see that, like, it's really possible as long as you do the fucking phone calls. That's all you have to do. Okay? I really hope we did. It was a shame actually that we couldn't catch that on video, but it happened all of a sudden. Like we're chilling and it happened, but hopefully that reinforces even more that you guys can do this. So yeah, thank you guys and enjoy the rest of the course.